Hello everyone, Absent Friend here, and today we're going to try something a little different. We're going to dive into the Disney Villainous Introduction to Evil box. This is something I didn't really plan out, but what the hey, let's give it a try. So let's head on to the game table and check it out. Remember, thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell to be alerted when new episodes are available. And here we go. Now you're looking at the board thinking, wait a minute, that's old Ursula. What are you doing? Well, I wanted to compare the two. So we're going to do like a side-by-side comparison today. So this is the old Ursula board, which if you're familiar with the original game, The Worst Takes It All, then you're very familiar with this. If you're familiar with my guide that I made about it, check it out. If you haven't seen it yet, it covers everything you need to know about this and to get the basic strategy and everything else on how to play Ursula, and also how to play against Ursula. But now we're going to look at her new board from Introduction to Evil. So she has a new board. It's almost identical to the old board. The artwork is the same, the locations are the same. However, the action spaces are a little different. So for example, the shore and Eric's ship are the same. So if you can see that, they're identical to each other. However, Ursula's lair and the palace are different. Okay. First of all, you'll notice that the palace, you're supposed to put a lock on the palace token, or a lock token on the palace location. However, in the new Introduction to Evil version, there is no lock token for any of the villains in there. So no lock tokens. So it's gone. So she can freely go all over the board and doesn't have to worry about anything being locked. All right, so in the palace, staying in the palace, we can see that we now have a play card action in the new one, as opposed to a fate action in the old one. Okay, so in the old one, if you wanted, you could only fate at Eric's ship unless you move the lock token. Then you could go back and forth and fate multiple times. In this game, the fate has moved to Ursula's lair. So if you want to fate, you have to go between Ursula's lair and Eric's ship. Ursula's lair, Eric's ship, back and forth like that. You can still move allies and items, and you can also move heroes at the palace. You still gain the 2 power, but now you can play a card at the palace. So every location in the Introduction to Evil now has a play card action in every place. So that's wonderful. And then in Ursula's lair, in the old game, she had an activate action here that could easily be covered up, and whenever I play as her, it usually stays covered up. But you use that to activate her items and her allies to do certain things. But in this game, she has no activation. Nothing she has activates, so she doesn't need an activate action anymore. So that's where the other fate, that's where they move the fate action. So really, that's the only differences in her board as far as actions go. These two are the same. These two have changed, but they just moved the fate from here to here, and they gave you another play action there and got rid of the activate and got rid of the lock token. So that is Ursula's board. Excuse me, that is Ursula's board for the Introduction to Evil. Now let's take a look at her cards. Okay, so in the new Introduction to Evil, you get these cards, and they're a lot shinier. Also because they're a lot newer. My old ones have been worn down. But you can see the coloring is a little different. Instead of purple against gold and white against gold, it's now purple against white, and then over here it's white against the purple. So I guess it makes it a little bit easier to tell whose fate decks they are. And I guess the white kind of comes out against that purple a little nicer, a little brighter, more vibrant, if you will. All right, so let's take a look at some of these cards and let's see what they got. Okay. All right, so we have Whirlpool. Whirlpool is different in this one than it was in the last one. So let me get the old deck and find a Whirlpool here. And we'll put them side by side. Okay. So There we go. Old Whirlpool, you move a hero to any location. New Whirlpool, you draw 5 cards into your hand and then discard 4. That's it. That's the only difference, but it's a big change. It also costs 2 power instead of 1. So that's, since Ursula's way of defeating villains is very different in this game, which I'll show you in a minute. You don't need to do that as much anymore. You can go to the palace at any time and move a hero. So this is unnecessary. So that's why they changed it. Okay, so that's that one. Next, we have the contracts. Now this is, I will say, all the contracts in this are the same location wise as in the previous game. So the red one goes to the palace, the green one goes to Ursula's lair, the blue one goes to Eric's ship, and the yellow one, or orange I guess, goes to the shore. Okay, and they're all identical other than their location. That's it. Okay, you still have 2 each of these and 1 each of those. Okay, and it's just like the last one. They still cost 2 power, just like the last one, but you don't attach them to heroes this time. You just play them to those locations. Okay, so let me get the other contracts from the old game and we'll have a little comparison side by side. And let's see, yellow one, and where's the red one? There it is. Okay, so as you can see, they cost the same, and in the end they kind of have the same function. However, if you look at the old one, there we go. If you look at the old one, when the binding contract is played, the old one says attached to a hero who is not at the shore, and then that hero is defeated when they are moved to the shore. Okay, so that's how you defeated heroes in the old version of Ursula. In the new version of Ursula, now she has vanquish actions, and she will use her allies to vanquish heroes as long as the strength is, correct. And she can only do it at the locations that have these vanquish actions. Okay, so you can only play them to those places. Now, note it says you can only play them to those locations. It says nothing about moving. So once you've played a contract to a location, you can move it to wherever you need that vanquish action to do some combos. All right, so don't worry, I'm going to do a live playthrough of Ursula in the new version here in a minute to put all this stuff into action. So those are the contracts, the new contracts. Now then, let's look at her allies. If I can find the other one. There he is. All right, so these are, hang on, these are the old allies, and just one moment, I think I boo-booed. Okay. Yeah, so those are the old allies. I was pulling from the wrong deck. And now let me find the new allies. Okay. So, old allies, new allies. What is the difference? Well, the cost is the same. Their strength is the same. Whoops. But in the old game, you activated them to move a hero from their location to an adjacent location. So it helped you move heroes if the palace was locked or you didn't have any whirlpools. However, up here we have, all they do is vanquish heroes, and they're not discarded when you use them for vanquishing actions. That's all they do, vanquish heroes, and they can vanquish every hero in the deck by themselves except Triton. And so if you want to defeat Triton, you have to use them both. So anyway, I'll show you how they work whenever we do our live playthrough, but that's the only difference between them. This one, they didn't do anything to vanquish heroes. They just move heroes to be vanquished with contracts. New one, They actually vanquish heroes old school style, in the traditional sense, if you will. Alright, so these are the old ones. I'm going to try not to mix up my decks here and the new ones. Okay, now let's take a look at, so we looked at her contracts. Let's look at some of her, let's look at her objective items. Alright, because those have changed a bit. So here are the new ones, the crown and the trident. Okay. And the old ones, I know Diego. He really, really hates it when I'm doing my show. He wants all the attention. Okay. So, new, old. Old, as you can see, the Trident, you play it, you have to find King Triton, you attach it to him at the same location, put it on the hero side, and then you have to defeat Triton to get the Trident back. And the crown activates to be able to look at your fate deck to see what's coming up. And you still have to move them over into her lair to win the game. That's the old way of doing it. As you notice, the crown is not as expensive. In the new version, Trident still costs 4, but the crown only costs 2, so it's a little cheaper to get that crown out there. And crown can only be played to the palace, and the Trident can only be played to the shore, and then you play them, and then you start moving them. So they're very much like Hades, Jafar, where they have to play their items at a certain place and then slowly move them over. Or even like Radigan and that Robot Queen. So there you have it, folks. Those are the objective items, and that's all they do. They're pretty powerless in this game compared to what they did in the old game. They're just means to an end. They're the MacGuffin of her deck, of her game, I guess. So okay, so we've done her objective items. Now let's look at her other item, which is that lovely Cauldron. This is the new Cauldron. And where is it? There's the old Cauldron. Okay. So, old Cauldron, you activate it and you gain 2 power for each binding contract. So, you know, you can get a lot of power if you have a lot of contracts out on people. But, you know, usually you're not going to hold a bunch of contracts on people. You're going to actually move them around and get them offed. So the Cauldron was, I think, kind of useless in the old game. However, in the new game, and I think this one's a lot more useful. If Ursula is at this location, you may find an ally or binding contract in your deck or discard pile and put that card in your hand. So you can go through any of Ursula's cards, no matter where they are, and find what you need and put it into your hand. It's very, very useful. All you gotta do is move to that location. So play the Cauldron in a smart place and use it to your advantage, okay? All right, so you definitely wanna get that Cauldron out there quickly, if you can. All right, because you need those allies to take care of heroes, because the heroes in her deck are very, I would say they're quite devastating compared to the original. Now let's look at some of her effects. Trying to find them all and not show you the copies. Okay, we already looked at Warpool. And we only looked at Warpool first because it was right there on top of the deck, so I figured, what the heck. Okay, so here are the new effects, okay? And we'll look at the old effects as well. At least the ones that are different. Okay, so first of all, divination. Reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a binding contract. Put that binding contract in your hand. That is the same. It did not change, so we don't need to compare those. Opportunist. Choose an item or effect from your discard pile and put it into your hand. That also did not change. It's still the same. However, these three did change. So let's take a look at their originals versus the new one. There's Grow Giant, Change Form, and now if you've been taking notes, you know that Change Form is going to be different this time because there's no lock token, and that's what change form did in the old one. So, okay, so let's take a look here. All right, so let's start with Grow Giant. In the previous one, in the old version, you perform one available action adjacent to her location, even if it's locked. But now they just got rid of that because there's no lock token anymore. So now you just do the same thing, but they don't need the lock language. So there's not much difference in the new one and the old one on that one. Okay, so wait, this is the old one. Yes. Okay. New one. Okay. So the old one's on top this time. You may move each... Okay, so let's look at Poor Unfortunate Souls. Only for 2 power. You may move each hero to an adjacent unlocked location. That was very handy if you had lots of heroes with, what do you call it? Contracts on them. And they were all going to perish in that next thing. And then the old change form moved the lock token to either Ursula's location or Ursula's lair or the palace. That's it. And that's the old change form, but we can't do that anymore because there's no lock token. So now let's take a look at these. Now for 4 powers, it's very expensive. Defeat a hero, and then you may move one unattached item toward Ursula's lair. Now I love how they say unattached item because nothing in Ursula's items can be attached. So I don't know what that means. Unless they did that so because there are fate items that get attached. And so I guess maybe they thought if we didn't put unattached, people might think they could move those fate items off of people and closer to Ursula's lair. So maybe that's why they put the language. I don't know. But yeah, all of her items are unattached on her side. So you defeat a hero and you get to move an item at the same time. So you don't even need the vanquish action. You just defeat a hero. It doesn't even say what strength they have. It can be anybody. So that's a great card, and that's probably why it's so expensive. And change form. Now, instead of moving a lock token, you look at the top 3 cards of your fate deck, discard 1, put 1 on the bottom, and put 1 on the top. And that's it. So that kind of replaces what the crown used to do. So I like how they kind of kept that in there because it was nice to be able to see what's going on in the fate deck to prepare yourself for what's about to happen. All right, now let's take a look at this fate deck and see what we got here. First of all, let's look at this lovely young lady and let's compare her old and new stuff. Okay, so we'll do old on bottom this time. All right, old Ariel. When she is played, you move one unattached item from an unlocked location to her location. Until Ariel is defeated, Ursula cannot perform the move item or ally action. Well, now they kind of split that up a little bit. So not only does she steal the items, but she also holds on to them until she perishes. Now, she doesn't keep them. She just puts them in her location. Still on Ursula's side, but then she can't move anything while Ariel's out. So all they did for the new version is they just say you can't move items or allies until she's defeated. So that kind of puts a wrench into a lot of things. And of course, for you faders out there who are paying attention, play that so Ariel so she can't move those things back to her house quickly. And I'll show you how that works. I'm sure it'll come up in my solo play, so we'll take a look at it. Okay. So the Return to Form card does, I believe, the same thing. Except they got rid of the... Oh no, it is the same. Choose a hero with a strength of 4 or less from Ursula's Fate discard pile and play that hero to Ursula's location. It's exactly the same. They just changed the margins, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. Why they do that. Yeah, it's weird. So yeah, the margins are a little different, but whatever. There you go. Okay, so oh, that's the old card. New card. That's the old one. Okay, I'm confusing the 2 decks, so give me a sec here. All right, so let's take a look at some of these other heroes. Flounder and Sebastian. Sebastian says villain items cannot be moved to Sebastian's location. So instead of moving contracts off people, he now forbids items from coming into his location. So very obviously where he needs to go if you find him. And when Flounder is played, you may shuffle Ursula's Fate discard pile back into her deck. Instead of her villain deck, now it's the Fate deck, okay? So let's take a look at the old ones just to kind of compare. There's old Flounder and old Sebastian. All right, so you can see when Flounder is played, you may shuffle Ursula's discard pile back into her deck. That's her regular deck. But now it's Fate discard pile, so that's the difference there. And Sebastian, again, had the contract thing, but since that's out, they had to change him up a little bit. Sebastian is still pretty powerful as he was in the old game, but I think he's even more powerful now. And this is also a little bit more powerful too to play. It's very, very nice to be able to play that, or be able to shuffle that Fate discard pile back into the deck. Get some good cards back in there. Now let's look at these two, Scuttle and Max. All right, so I don't believe old or new Scuttle has changed. Let's take a look. There's old. There. Oh wait, that is old Scuttle. I'm sorry. Those are old. These are new. Okay. So let's put them. Okay. All right. So old Scuttle. You choose an item from the Fate discard pile and attach it to Scuttle. New Scuttle, exactly the same. Okay. So that's old Scuttle. There we go. And this is new Scuttle. And he's the same. Old Max set when he is played to Ursula's location, you may move Ursula to any unlocked location. Now it says when Max is played, you may move a hero to any location because they're in the locks. So that is old Max, and that is new Max. And I actually like this a whole lot better, being able to move heroes around. It really helps you cover actions better and move things about, keep people away from deadly allies. Okay, so what's next? Let's take a look at this guy and this guy. These are new. New Grimby, new Eric. And then let's find old Grimby. Where'd he go? This song. There he is. And old Eric. Now old Grimby had to do with the lock token, so that's not going to be any help this time. So when old Grimby, when he was played, he moved the lock token. No, we won't need that anymore. When new Grimby is played, you may place a binding contract in the discard pile. It does not say at his location, any of them. So this is a good way to get rid of those binding contracts that Ursula will use to vanquish people and throw them away. So it's always a good idea to get the ones that are unique. But pretty much at any strategic point, just look at the board and see which ones are going to be the most devastating for her to move. All right, old Eric did what new Max now does. Old Eric was the one who moved a hero to any unlocked location. Now he moves allies to any location. So the dog moves heroes, the prince moves allies to any location. So again, still can be pretty powerful, useful card. Now let's take a look at these items. Okay, so once again, we're gonna have to change the Snarf Flat because the old one had to do with binding contracts onto heroes, but since that's not a thing anymore, they had to change it. The Dingle Hopper is still the same though. When Ursula moves to that location where the hero has this attached, she loses a power. So old and new are the same. Snarf Flats are different. Old Snarf Flat was when you attach this to a hero, it costs 3 more power to play binding contract on them. So that was really good in the old one when you had to do that, but now that's gone. So now when it's played, you attach it to a hero with a strength of 4 or less, so it can go on anybody except Triton. And Ursula must defeat that hero before defeating others. So this is kind of like Rafiki's stick, Taunt on in Captain Hook, where you attach it and you have to defeat that hero before you defeat anybody else. This is very handy, especially if you're trying to keep Ariel alive so she can keep using her ability. Okay, what else? Big Daddy. There's a new King Triton, and let me find old King Triton. Because since the objective has changed, he had to change. Okay, so old King Triton, the only thing was any effects or binding contracts that targets him are increased by 1. And I can't tell you how many times we did not do that in the game. We always forgot to do that a little bit. But there you go. Now the new one. All of this happens now is when he is played, you move the Trident and crown to his location. So when he comes out and those Trident and crowns are out, you just play them as far away from her lair as possible. Now she can still just keep moving them while he's still in play, so he can still cover actions and things. And of course he's got 6 strength, so 1 eel cannot take him out. You gotta use them both if you want to take him out. So anyway, let's that's it. Those are all the cards. Now let me maneuver my camera a little bit and set up the board, and we're going to play a live solo match so you can see these new cards in action. So stay put and we'll be right back. And we're back. All right, so we've got everything set up to play as Ursula. This is the new Introduction to Evil. I know there was a new version of Introduction to Evil released. This was released last year, and I got it as the special Disney 100 anniversary. But they re-released it this year. But I don't know if there are any changes to it or not. I don't want to buy it if it's just the same thing again. So y'all have to tell me if anybody out there has bought the most recent edition of Introduction to Evil. I just think it's just a reissue. I don't think it's anything new or they changed anything. But if anybody out there has bought the most recent release of the Introduction to Evil box, please let me know if it's significantly different or if it's just like cosmetic changes. I like to buy these things, but at the same time I don't want to waste my money. Alright, so hopefully y'all can see everything. I have moved my camera a little higher so we can see the game board a little bit better and you can see all the stuff and everything without me having to go back and forth. And I try to get the thing to focus properly, but it's an iPhone that's recording this, and if any of y'all know anything about iPhone cameras, they don't like to stay in focus very much. As soon as something moves, it changes focus, and it doesn't usually return, so it can be tricky. So, alright. Okay, so before we do anything else, I did want to bring these guys out and show you the movers. This is the old mover. This is the new mover. So the old mover is a little bit more transparent. The new mover is a little bit more solid and shiny. Actually, I kind of like the new mover. So, but it depends on what. Sometimes I do want to play the old version. Sometimes I want to play the new version. Another thing with the new version is that you start on your portrait instead of starting on the leftmost location. So that's a new thing in the Introduction to Evil box. Now, the game says that you can play it with other people or with the other boxes. However, the rules still say in the other boxes, even the most, well, except for King Candy, in the most recent ones, you still start on that leftmost location. So, if you mixed Introduction to Evil with the other guys in the expansions, does that change this rule? Something to think about. I don't know. If anybody out there knows, please let me know in the comments. I am willing to learn. And is that rule still apply? Because they didn't really talk about it too much in the newer games, or at least if they did, I must have skimmed over it, which is very possible. So, okay, so there's that, and I feel like I've already done this. Maybe not. Having deja vu. I've probably been doing this for so long that it just feels like I've been doing it. Like all the other solo matches I've done and everything else, just. All right, so here we go. Let's see how this Introduction to Evil plays out. All right, so my hand consists of these things. Binding Contract, Flotsam, Whirlpool, and Grow Giant. Well, I definitely want to get Flotsam out there and that Binding Contract out there as quickly as possible. I'll probably play the Whirlpool. I probably will not bother with this. So we're just going to head to the shore. We're going to gain 3. We're going to discard that. And for 2, we're going to go in and play this Whirlpool so we can cycle this deck, because we got to get to those objective items, because for all I know they can be at the very bottom. 4, 5. Fortunately, there are ways to get them back. Okay, so this is what I drew. And what do I want to keep? Well, actually, I'm going to discard all of these. And we're going to do the... This is my hand now. And we're going to do this card again. Or we're not, actually, because I don't have enough power. So dang it. But that's why I kept it, so I can do it again the next turn. Speaking of which, that was turn 1. And let me turn my volume up so I can hear that lovely clicking sound. I don't know why that... I enjoy that so much. It's soothing. Lovely. Okay, so that was turn 1. And we are now done. We're going to draw up to 4. And start turn 2. And I got another change thing, but that's okay. I'm going to head to the shore. Gain 2 power. And for 2 power, I'm going to play Whirlpool. We're going to do that thing again. Hopefully get some better cards. Now, what happens if they both come out at the same time? Well, let's find out. I'll kind of strategize as we go. Oh, I didn't talk about the conditions. Okay. The trickery condition is still the same. This has changed though, because instead of a hero with a strength of 4, it's now a strength of 3 or more. And when you play this, you get to play an ally or item from your hand for free. So when another player defeats a hero of strength 3 or more, you play this, and then you get to play an ally or item from your hand for free. So if you see another player about to defeat somebody and you've got this and maybe a good item in your hand, hang on to it. Otherwise, ditch it, which is what I'm about to do. Actually, yeah, I'm ditching all these except, you know what? Okay. Now, here's another question. Do we keep this and wait till the right moment to play it? Or do we get it out there and, tease the fade horse into fading you a whole bunch? Well, that depends on how you like to play the game. I know some people like to hold these items and then just kind of combo them out at once and just, devastate the game in like 2 moves. And that's okay, but personally, I like to keep the other players worried. Because if they're more worried about what I'm doing, they're not really too worried. They sometimes will not be too worried about what they're doing. So they tend to forget, and they're too busy fading you. And if you're playing with multiple people, they're like, you need to fade him so that we can fade him. And because he's about to win. Yeah, if you've ever played with a bunch of people, you've heard those conversations. Okay, speaking of fading, that turn is over. And so we are going to be faded. So here we go. Our first fate. 2 Dingo Hoppers. Can't be played because there's nobody to attach them to. Too bad. So sad. Alright. So. And that happens sometimes when you get faded. You get completely useless fate cards. Excuse me. Alright, turn 3. I hate going back to the shore all the time, but I really got to build up some power. And one thing about the new version of Ursula is that she does not get a chance to keep power very long. Okay. So, here's what we're going to do. We are going to use all 4 of my power. Get that Trident out there. And... do I want to keep this binding contract? Don't know. Part of me does. Yeah, I probably should. Although I haven't found any of my divinations yet, so I could always get it back. And yeah, I definitely want to do this on the next turn. Okay, so that's the end of that turn. Oh wait, I played the Trident's the wrong location. Okay. See, there's that trickery. And it still lets you do the same thing. So instead of playing a card from that player's deck, I'm just going to discard the top card of my Fate deck. And that's it. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to go back to the shore. Okay, so this is my hand. I'm just going to move it out of the way. Okay. And so I do have that Opportunist. I also have Flotsam. But instead of spending my power to get him out there, I'm going to spend this 2 power to play Change Form. And we're going to look at the top 3 cards. Now this is... You get to look at them, so no one else gets to see them but me. Okay, 1 goes on top, 1 goes on bottom, and 1 goes in the discard pile. Well, we're going to go ahead and discard this. We're going to put this back on top, and we're going to put Sebastian at the bottom. We're going to move the Trident. And that's all I can do. I've done everything. Okay, turn 4. Wait a minute. That was turn 4, wasn't it? Dang it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that was turn 4. Sorry, guys. Okay, so that was turn 4. Now we're about to be fated. And the Fators are worried. I have no heroes. This is why I did not discard that hero, because I knew this was going to come out and get him to be played anyway. Or I knew this was coming, so I wanted no heroes in the discard pile. So, another useless Fate. I love it. Absolutely love it. But it could go either way, you know, it just depends on how that Fate deck is shuffled. Alright, so now we're gonna go. Where are we gonna go? We really need to go back to the shore so I can get power, but also at the same time I want to go in and get this in the thing. I know. So let's go over here. Gain 1. I'm gonna move the Trident. And for 1, I'm gonna play Opportunist to get an item or effect from my discard pile back into my hand. And I am going to get that Whirlpool back into my hand. Oh, this is turn 5. I keep forgetting to move that ticker. Okay. So that is that. Can I discard here? No. Okay. So turn 6. Let's go ahead and head to the shore. Gain 3. And let's go ahead and get rid of this trickery, because I don't think I'll ever have 6 or more power to be able to use that. And for 2, let's do this Whirlpool. Now I keep forgetting that I can discard. There's that Cauldron. I keep forgetting I can discard from my hand. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna discard that. 2, 3, 4. So you can add cards from your hand to discard if you don't want to discard everything that you just drew, because it all goes into your hand. Okay, and then for 1 power, I'm going to play this Cauldron to find a be able to find a binding contract or an ally from my deck or discard pile. Right now, I'm going to use it to find the ally that I just discarded, and now he's in my hand. All right, so there we have it. That's my hand. The end of turn 6. Draw back up to 4. Still no crown. Fedors. Get to. Well, you know what? We're going to play Flounder. And he's going to cover up this move action right here. And actually should cover up the double card play action, but she's not going to that anytime soon. But he does get to do this. So we're going to take all the discard cards, shuffle them back into the Fate deck. This is also good to use if she uses that change form card to kind of manipulate the Fate deck to her advantage. This is good to completely undo that. But again, you only get to do it once when Flounder comes out. Alrighty. Okay, so here we go. This I'm just gonna show you guys my hand. Then I'm gonna move it out of the way. So there's my hand. I got the Whirlpool and the other stuff. Okay. First things first. I'm gonna see how many cards I have left in here. Oh, more than 5. Okay. So yeah, we're probably gonna Whirlpool it again. All right, let's head here. But uh-oh, Flounder's in the way. What do? Well, use that move hero. Move him over. Now I can move this Cauldron over. And I do that all the time. I know I always play to the shore, but I played at the shore because that was handy for me at that time. But you can move the Cauldron like I just did, and now that it's in my location, I can use it to find a binding contract. Oh, or ally. I already have my ally, so I'm going to find another binding contract. And I'm going to get the one for the shore. And I'll tell you why later. Okay, so that's not even activating. You know, I love this card. You don't even have to activate. You just do it. Okay, so I moved this. I moved him. I haven't played a card yet. I haven't gained power yet. So let's gain power. And then for 2, we're going to play, you guessed it, Whirlpool. So I've got to get to that crown. 5. It's probably that card right there. Watch. You watch. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So, yeah, I kind of want to keep those binding contracts. So let's discard everything except the crown. Now the crown is in my hand. I have a hand of 5, but that's okay. Wait a minute. Turn 6 was when I got faded. This was turn 7 I just did. Now we're going to turn 8. I really need some power. Okay, well, we're going to go here. Gain 3. And for 2, we're going to go ahead and play the crown. Get closer to our goal. Okay? Alright, so that was turn 8. Still look for... Well, actually, this will be handy. Okay. So at least it was handy that time. Alright. Turn 9. I remembered it that time. We're going to do this. We're going to move Flounder over again so he's out of my way. And I'm going to find another binding contract. And for... Oh, I gain 2. Oh, move the crown. Gain 2. Whoops. Come back here. Come on. There we go. And then 4-2, we're going to play Jetsam. You can play either one, doesn't really matter. And that's it. That's all I can do. That was turn 9. Now turn 10. I still can't draw that extra card, but that's okay. We're actually going to go back to the shore. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to go here. We're going to move the crown. Gain 1. And for 2, we're going to play this binding contract over there. That's all I can do. That's turn 10. Depending on how this next... Excuse me. Depending on how this next fate goes, I will win on the next turn. So the Fators need a good card. They need Ariel, or they need Triton. What do they get? That's not going to help any Fators. Send this last card. Nope. Won't help them either. Now as the Fator, I will play Eric. I will play Eric to here. Actually, that is good. Never mind. And we're going to move this ally over here. So I take that back. Eric was handy. Well, he was handy in the movie too, wasn't he? Okay, so how... That was unexpected. But that's okay. So, Fators. Pay attention to those things. Cover up those actions that will keep them from winning. And, you know, use them to your advantage. And that's exactly what... Well, actually, I know I just did that. But I just realized it doesn't really matter. Okay. So now we're on turn 11. We're going to go here. We're going to move Eric. And we're going to move this crown. And I win. So there we have it. Now, I got very lucky that Ariel and or Triton did not come out to ruin things. This game can go very south very fast. It's happened before. During my practice rounds. It's very much happened. So, that's it. But as you saw, the key, those whirlpools, getting that deck cycled and getting to these items quickly, and even being faded every other turn, you know, that's so wasn't enough. Let's see who would have been next. Let's see, that wouldn't have done anything either. So yeah, where are those people? Wow, there's Trident. Yeah, they were all three next to each other in a very low place. Okay, well, that's new Ursula, folks. That's a playthrough with her. Hopefully you got some ideas and some strategies with her. It's a shame you didn't get to see the vanquishing in action. If it wasn't for the crown, I could have moved Jetsam there and used that contract to off Flounder. But then there you go. Okay, so that's Ursula. Hopefully that was pretty clear and fun to watch, and hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions about Ursula, this is new Ursula. But if you need questions about old Ursula, go ahead and check out that video as well, and you can ask me there if you have any more questions about old Ursula. So tell me what you think about Ursula. Do you like old or do you like new? If you've got a chance to play both, let me know in the comments which one that you like the best. I don't know. I do enjoy the new playthrough of Ursula. There's something special about the old one that seems to be a little bit more challenging. So this is definitely easy Ursula. Old Ursula is definitely challenging Ursula. So if you like a challenge, do old Ursula. If you like to be kind of casual, then do new Ursula. So that I'll leave that up to you guys. So anyway, this is your absent friend signing off.